A dedicated nurse, beloved by her patients and colleagues, leaves her home at exactly 6:34 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in March 2024. She's heading to work, just like she has for the past 15 years. But 3.5 hours later, her phone goes dead in a Portland neighborhood she has no business being in. The next day, her car mysteriously reappears at her apartment complex, cleaned with industrial-grade products. Cristina Ase never made it to work that day. She never made it home either. And what investigators discovered next would turn this missing person case into something far more disturbing. Today, we're diving deep into a case that has stumped the Vancouver Police Department, drawn FBI involvement, and left a community desperate for answers. This is the story of Cristina Ase, a 62-year-old nursing director whose disappearance on March 26, 2024, has become one of the Pacific Northwest's most perplexing mysteries. But before we unravel this puzzle, let me tell you something that will chill you to the bone. The evidence suggests that whatever happened to Cristina wasn't random. It wasn't spontaneous. Someone had been watching her movements for weeks. Someone knew exactly where she was going that morning. And someone made sure she would never come back. Cristina's story begins not in the United States, but in Argentina, where she was born in 1962. She was a biochemist there, a woman of science who understood the complexities of life at a molecular level. But like so many immigrants, she dreamed of something more. In the mid-2000s, she made the life-changing decision to leave everything behind and start over in America. The transition wasn't easy. Despite her advanced education and scientific background, Cristina's first job in the United States was as a cook in a nursing facility. But here's what makes her story so remarkable. She refused to let circumstances define her destiny. She taught herself English from scratch, enrolled in nursing school, and earned her BSN, RN, and eventually her Doctor of Medical Science degree. By 2009, Cristina had landed a position at Rose Lynn Care Center in West Lynn, Oregon. She wasn't just any nurse. She was the nursing director, the person who coordinated care for dozens of elderly residents who depended on her expertise and compassion. Her colleagues didn't just respect her, they considered her family. Amy Shower, one of Cristina's co-workers, later told reporters something that perfectly captures who Cristina was as a person. She was just a very kind person. She never had a bad word to say about anybody. She gave her whole life to helping others. For 15 years, Cristina maintained the same routine. She lived in Vancouver, Washington, and made the daily commute to West Lynn, Oregon. Every morning, she would leave her apartment around 6:30 a.m. and arrive at work by 7:30 a.m. She was reliable, punctual, and completely dedicated to her patients. But in the weeks leading up to March 26, 2024, something changed. Something that, in hindsight, investigators now recognize as the beginning of the end. On February 27th, March 1st, and March 5th, Cristina left her home at exactly 6:30 a.m., just like always. But approximately 20 minutes later, she would text her boss with the same message. She would be running late and wouldn't arrive until 8:30 a.m. instead of her usual 7:30 a.m. Now, you might think this sounds innocent enough. People run late for work all the time, but here's where it gets interesting. Vancouver police discovered that the Southeast Foster Road exit off Interstate 205 is exactly a 20-minute drive from Cristina's apartment. And that exit leads directly to the Glenwood Park area of Southeast Portland, where cell phone data would later show Cristina's phone spending hours on the day she disappeared. The pattern was established. For 3 separate occasions, Cristina was making unexplained trips to the same area of Portland, lying to her employer about why she was late, and somehow making it to work without anyone suspecting anything was wrong. What was she doing during those missing hours? Who was she meeting, and why did she feel the need to lie about it? These questions would become crucial on March 26, 2024. That Tuesday started like any other day. Cristina left her Vancouver apartment at 6:34 a.m., her cell phone automatically connecting to nearby towers as she drove south on Interstate 205. But instead of continuing to West Lynn for work, she took that familiar exit at Southeast Foster Road. What happened next has been pieced together through cell phone data, security cameras, and witness statements. But the picture that emerges is deeply unsettling. At 6:47 a.m., just 13 minutes after leaving home, Christina's phone showed she had taken the Southeast Foster Road exit and was driving through residential neighborhoods in Southeast Portland. She wasn't lost. She wasn't making a quick stop. According to the data, she spent the next 3 hours moving between the Glenwood Park area and what investigators believe were one or more specific houses. Think about that for a moment. 3 hours. That's not a brief meeting or a quick errand. That's enough time for something significant to happen, something that required planning and coordination. During this time, Cristina sent that familiar text to her boss at Roselyn Care Center, saying she would be late for work. Her colleagues weren't concerned. After all, she had done this several times in recent weeks. They had no reason to suspect that this time would be different. But at exactly 10 a.m., everything changed. Christina's phone moved to the intersection of Southeast Flavel Street and 92nd Avenue. For 5 minutes, it remained stationary at that exact location. Then, at 10:05 a.m., the phone went dark. Not just turned off, but completely dead to the world. That intersection would become ground zero for one of the most intensive missing person searches in recent Pacific Northwest history. But here's what makes this case so chilling. Cristina Ase was never seen again. When she didn't show up for work, her colleagues at Roselyn Care Center immediately knew something was wrong. This wasn't like Cristina. Even when she was running late, she always called. She always kept in touch. She would never simply disappear without explanation. Her husband reported her missing that same day. By evening, search teams were scouring the Glenwood Park area where her phone had last pinged. Volunteers with boats searched nearby waterways. Police officers knocked on doors throughout the neighborhood, asking if anyone had seen a Hispanic woman in her early 60s. But it was what happened the next day that transformed this from a missing person case into something much more ominous. On March 27th, exactly 24 hours after Cristina Ase vanished, her 2013 Toyota RAV4 mysteriously reappeared in the parking lot of her Vancouver apartment complex. The same car she had driven into Portland the morning before. The same car that should have been wherever Cristina was, but Cristina was nowhere to be found. When Vancouver police examined the vehicle, they discovered something that sent chills down their spines. The interior surfaces had been cleaned with what appeared to be industrial-grade cleaning products, not the kind of casual wipe-down you might do after spilling coffee. This was thorough, methodical professional cleaning. Detective Jason Nicholson would later write in a search warrant affidavit, "There is probable cause to believe that Cristina's sudden disappearance is related to a serious crime or imminently dangerous medical emergency." Let that sink in for a moment. A dedicated nurse who had never missed work without calling, who had no history of mental health issues, who spoke to her sisters in Argentina every single day, had vanished without a trace. Her car had been returned, cleaned, and abandoned, and law enforcement was now using words like serious crime. Sandy Hayden, a licensed practical nurse who worked alongside Cristina, captured what everyone was thinking when she told reporters, "Hearing about the cleaning product in the car gives me a very bad suspicion something bad has happened, and I don't like thinking of that. It's devastating." But the mystery was just beginning. As investigators dug deeper into Cristina's final weeks, a disturbing pattern emerged. Those 3 previous occasions when she had texted about being late for work weren't isolated incidents. They were practice runs. Someone had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The precision was terrifying. Whoever orchestrated Cristina's disappearance knew her schedule, knew her route to work, knew exactly how long it would take her to reach that Southeast Foster Road exit. They knew she was the type of person who would text her boss if she was running late. They had studied her habits, her routines, her predictable nature, and they had used all of that information against her. The FBI's involvement in the case speaks volumes about how seriously federal authorities are taking this disappearance. The Bureau doesn't typically get involved in missing person cases unless there's evidence of kidnapping, human trafficking, or other federal crimes. Their participation suggests they believe Cristina's disappearance crosses state lines or involves organized criminal activity. What makes this case even more haunting is how well-loved Cristina was in her community. Her co-workers at Roselyn Care Center didn't just miss her professional expertise, they mourned the loss of someone they considered family. Amy Schauer and her sister Nicole Oquist took charge of organizing search efforts and spreading awareness about Cristina's case. They created a Facebook group called Cristina Ase Missing that has become the central hub for information and updates. These weren't just colleagues trying to find a missing coworker. These were people desperately searching for someone they loved. The community response has been extraordinary. When Amy contacted Chad Banks at Lamar Advertising about purchasing a billboard to publicize Cristina's disappearance, she was told it would cost $13,000 for a single billboard. But something remarkable happened. Chad Banks was so moved by Cristina's story that he donated not one, but 7 billboards across the Portland metropolitan area, for free. 2 vigils have been held in Cristina's honor. The first took place on April 5th, just 10 days after her disappearance. The second was held on April 26th, what should have been Cristina's 62nd birthday. Instead of celebrating with cake and presents, her friends and colleagues stood with candles, hoping and praying for her safe return. But as weeks turned into months, hope began to give way to grim reality. If you've been following this case, and you're as captivated by these mysterious details as I am, then you understand why thousands of people are demanding answers. If this story has gotten your heart racing, and you want to stay updated on every development in cases like this, then hit that subscribe button right now. The investigation has revealed details that paint an increasingly dark picture of what may have happened to Cristina. Crime Stoppers of Oregon is now offering a $2,500 reward for information leading to an arrest in the case. Not information leading to finding Cristina. Information leading to an arrest. That distinction is crucial because it suggests law enforcement believes they're dealing with a criminal act, not a medical emergency or voluntary disappearance. One of the most significant developments came when investigators analyzed Cristina's cell phone data in forensic detail. The movement patterns they discovered tell a story that's both fascinating and terrifying. Remember, Cristina's phone showed her taking the Southeast Foster Road exit at 6:47 a.m. and then spending 3 hours in the Glenwood Park area. But it wasn't random movement. The data suggests she was traveling between the park itself and what investigators believe were specific residential addresses. This wasn't someone who was lost or confused. This was someone who knew exactly where she was going and who she was meeting. But here's what makes investigators' blood run cold. Cristina's co-workers have stated unequivocally that they cannot think of any reason she would have connections to that area of Portland. Amy Schauer put it bluntly, "I think it's important to note that while Cristina's phone or car may have been in that area, those are not places that I personally would see Cristina ever going to. So who was Cristina meeting? What was she doing for 3 hours? And why did someone feel the need to clean her car with industrial chemicals before returning it to her apartment complex?" The answers to these questions may lie in the 5 key theories that investigators are pursuing. First, the timing. Cristina didn't go directly to work on March 26th, breaking a routine she had maintained for 15 years. This suggests the detour was planned and purposeful. Second, the duration. Her phone remained in the Glenwood Park area for approximately 3 hours, indicating an extended interaction or event, not a brief meeting. Third, the pattern. In the weeks before her disappearance, Cristina had misled her employer and husband about her whereabouts on at least 3 other occasions, suggesting someone was grooming her for what would happen on March 26th. Fourth, the car. The mysterious return of her cleaned vehicle indicates someone wanted to eliminate evidence while also sending a message. Fifth, the communication cutoff. Her phone's abrupt shutdown at a specific intersection suggests either a deliberate decision to go dark or an external force that ended her ability to communicate. Each of these elements points to the same chilling conclusion. Cristina Ase didn't simply disappear. She was taken. Recent developments in the case have provided new hope for investigators. In late 2024, the FBI announced they were expanding their investigation to include potential connections to other missing person cases in the Pacific Northwest. This suggests they may have identified patterns linking Cristina's disappearance to other crimes. Advanced forensic analysis of Cristina's vehicle has also yielded new evidence that hasn't been made public. While investigators won't discuss specifics, they have indicated that DNA evidence recovered from the car may provide crucial leads in identifying those responsible for her disappearance. The international aspect of the case has also taken on new significance. Cristina maintained regular contact with her sisters in Argentina, speaking with them daily via video calls. The fact that she had such strong family connections overseas means that her disappearance has drawn attention from international law enforcement agencies. One theory that investigators are pursuing involves Cristina's background as a biochemist. Her scientific training and knowledge of medical procedures could have made her valuable to certain criminal organizations involved in drug manufacturing or human trafficking. This would explain the sophisticated planning involved in her disappearance and the professional cleanup of evidence. Another avenue of investigation focuses on her work at the care center. Nursing directors have access to controlled substances and medical equipment that could be valuable to criminal organizations. They also interact with vulnerable elderly patients who might be targets for financial fraud. But perhaps the most disturbing theory involves personal connections from Cristina's past. The fact that she was being manipulated for weeks before her disappearance suggests that someone she knew and trusted was involved in orchestrating her fate. If you're watching this and you lived in the Southeast Portland area in early 2024, if you remember seeing a Hispanic woman in her early 60s who seemed out of place or distressed, if you noticed unusual activity around Glenwood Park during that time period, your information could be the key to solving this case. The latest development came in early 2025 when the FBI announced they were offering federal resources to support the ongoing investigation. This includes advanced forensic capabilities, behavioral analysis experts, and access to national databases that could help identify suspects or connect Cristina's case to other crimes. Special Agent Rebecca Torres, who is coordinating the federal involvement, stated, "We believe that Cristina Ase's disappearance was not an isolated incident. We're looking at this as part of a potentially larger pattern of criminal activity that may span multiple jurisdictions." This statement has sent shockwaves through the law enforcement community and raised new questions about whether Cristina was the victim of an organized criminal enterprise that may have targeted other victims. The technological aspects of the investigation have also advanced significantly. Cell phone data analysis has become more sophisticated, allowing investigators to create detailed movement patterns not just for Cristina's phone, but for other devices that were in the same area around the same time. Facial recognition technology is being used to analyze security camera footage from dozens of locations along Cristina's route and in the areas where she spent those mysterious 3 hours. This technology has the potential to identify individuals who may have been involved in her disappearance. But perhaps the most important development has been the growing public awareness of the case. True crime podcasts have featured Cristina's story, reaching audiences across the country. Social media campaigns have kept her photograph and information circulating widely. For those of you who have followed this entire journey with us today, who understand the complexity and heartbreak of Cristina's case, I want you to do something important. Share this story. Talk about it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, because somewhere out there, someone knows something. As we reach the first anniversary of Cristina's disappearance, her case remains one of the most actively investigated missing person cases in the Pacific Northwest. The Vancouver Police Department, Portland Police Bureau, West Lynn Police Department, and FBI continue to follow leads, analyze evidence, and pursue every possible avenue of investigation. Her co-workers at Rose Lynn Care Center continue their advocacy efforts, maintaining the Facebook group, organizing remembrance events, and keeping Cristina's story in the public eye. They've created a scholarship fund in her name to help other immigrants pursue nursing education, ensuring that her legacy of helping others continues even in her absence. The residents at Rose Lynn Care Center still ask about Cristina. Some of them, struggling with memory issues, don't understand why their favorite nurse hasn't been to see them lately. The staff finds these conversations heartbreaking, but they also serve as daily reminders of how many lives Cristina touched and how deeply she is missed. If Cristina Ase is out there somewhere, if she's being held against her will, if there's any chance she can be rescued, then continued public attention to her case may be her lifeline. If she has been killed, then justice for Cristina depends on someone coming forward with information that can lead to arrests and prosecutions. The case of Cristina Ase remains open, active, and solvable. Somewhere out there are the answers her family needs, the justice she deserves, and the truth that will finally explain what happened during those 3 hours in Southeast Portland on March 26, 2024. Until that day comes, we remember Cristina Ase not as a victim, but as a dedicated nurse, a loving sister, a trusted colleague, and a woman who gave her life to helping others. We remember her smile, her kindness, her determination to build a better life in a new country. And we refuse to let her story end with questions, because Cristina Ase deserves answers. Her family deserves closure, and her community deserves justice. If you have any information about Cristina's disappearance, please contact the Vancouver Police Department, the FBI, or Crime Stoppers of Oregon. Your call could be the one that finally brings Cristina home.